Hello, this is a general response to Corey Anton, Professor Anton. Not of any particular video of his, but on the common theme that appears in many of his videos. If you haven't been acquainted with him yet, by all means go watch him. He's got great valuable philosophical insight. Anton, I'm a student of linguistics. I'm no academic philosopher, but I see so much potential in your approach to object-subject. And that's what I want to study in this video. For sure, it goes beyond the objective versus subjective dichotomy that is so central, even if unconsciously, to people's general thoughts on acquiring reliable knowledge. The dichotomy object-subject, objectivity versus subjectivity, is related to science, to culture, religion, ethics. I think we need to move beyond that dichotomy, but not just ignore it, no, realize it. Understand that we, in a primitive manner, have it embedded in our minds. Whenever people want to justify beyond any doubt the knowledge through personal experience or through verifiable data that they've obtained. And once we've realized this objectivity versus subjectivity dichotomy we have, destroy it. Realize that there is no absolute objectivity, there is no absolute subjectivity, but we make objective knowledge possible through our subjective experience. And we make subjective experience possible through our fixation on objects. We can't make one without the other. I can't trace this view to a particular philosophical approach. Forgive my ignorance. Maybe you know better about it. Is it more central to phenomenology or to Heidegger's hermeneutics? So, anyway, through this I want to concentrate now on the concept of property and its implications on ethics and politics. What is property? Property is something which is owned, something that belongs to someone, that is possessed. But what is property? According to law, my alarm clock, the one I use to wake up, belongs to me. It is mine. It is my property. Yet my boyfriend, the one I have, the one I use in a relationship manner, belongs to me. It is mine, but it is not my property. And yet both are an undeniable part of me and belong to me. If I didn't have an alarm clock, I wouldn't be able to get up to go to work. If I do have a boyfriend and I didn't have him, I wouldn't spend the large amount of time I spent with him. And so any ethical or political stance that defends the complete abolition of private property is flawed, for my alarm clock and my boyfriend, being mine, are undoubtedly more of my property than of anyone else's. Similarly, any ethical or political stance that defends the complete categorization of everything as private property is also flawed. For do I completely own my boyfriend? Are the sun, the moon, the stars completely owned by someone? And as much as I say to own my alarm clock, don't I hold responsibilities in regards to others and my clock? I shouldn't make a bomb and destroy some closed village with it just because everything I've used to make that bomb is of my property, alarm clock included. Private property needs to be public at some point, and public property needs to be private at some point. Both complete selfishness and complete altruism lead to destruction. And how does this more closely relate to ethics? Because ethics is a very practical branch of philosophy. It tells us what decisions we should make in life. And if ethics concentrate for the most part on altruism rather than selfishness, it centers mostly on social causes, on treating my brethren better, is because we are for the most part usually so self-centered. This is most visible in our current society. We generally have such a strong tendency to think in our terms, to take part in what we want, to do what is better individually for us, that an ethics on selfishness is barely needed. You know, people who defended the state of married women or of slaves as property, they didn't need the state of property of women or slaves to be reinforced. They didn't need selfishness restated. Though girlfriends continue to be, in a way, property of someone, those who legislatively defend their state as property need to be encouraged to break down private property in that aspect. Women have free will. Slaves have free will. Animals have free will and should be considered overall less property than they are. In this inevitable relationship between subject and object, when the object has a will of its own, we are to use the interests of objects as a part of the interests of subjects. And where that will is not so obvious, we should refuse to completely divide the relationship that happens between objects and subjects. What I want affects that which others want. Everything is, to a degree, a part of me, and I am, to a degree, a part of everything. Everything we individually do affects the others, and often what we individually do or want affects others in a much bigger degree than we as individuals are willing to accept.